Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is just going to be a super casual and chatty video about the past fall semester. Obviously a lot of us went through like a remote semester or like a very different semester even if you were on campus, and I'm sure a lot of college students feel the same way as I do, and I feel like we just need to talk about how college students were doing this semester because clearly a lot of us were struggling, or basically all of us were struggling in one way or another. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, give this video a big thumbs up, and let's get into this video. So to give some context so you guys understand where I'm coming from, I go to Lehigh University. I feel like I've said this so many times, and I'm a biochemistry major, so I'm in STEM, and I'm from Portland, Oregon. So I'm clearly on the other side of the country compared to my school. So there's a 3-hour time difference from the West Coast and the East Coast. I lived at home for the past 4 months-ish, I guess. And I'm very lucky to like have a good home environment where I have my own space and I have parents who can financially support me. So as I said, I do have a 3-hour difference from the West Coast to the East Coast. So I'm 3 hours behind, which kind of sucked because obviously a lot of my classes had like Zoom meetings. If you guys watch like my day in my life, you guys know I had class at like 7:45 every morning, which honestly was not that bad. It could have been worse because I had a class at 9:20 like EST, which would have been 6:20 over here. So 7:45 is early, but obviously not the worst because I know people who have to wake up at like 5 a.m. because they had an 8 a.m. over there. So I kind of want to talk about like the structure of each of my classes. So I took organic chemistry 1, I took physics, psychology, and I had 2 labs, one for physics and one for chem, and then I had a math class. So for physics, it was completely asynchronous, so we had no Zoom meetings, and the only time that we would be doing things like together would be for exams. But I requested like a different time because I'm in a different time zone. But basically she recorded all the lectures of like the whole week and she uploaded them like the Sunday before, which was super nice because I know a lot of professors out there who upload their videos like day by day, which like that makes sense too. But it was just super nice that she laid out like the whole week for us at the beginning, so you could literally just go at your own pace. And for chemistry, we had our 7:45 Zoom Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then before each Zoom, you're like supposed to watch this asynchronous video. I mean, it's not required, like they don't like keep track or like mark you down if you don't watch them, but it is nice to watch them beforehand so you know what's going on in class, because during the lecture he flies through the slides like really quickly. So that like made more work, you know, because if you were in person like on campus, you wouldn't have to watch an asynchronous video before your lecture because the lecture is supposed to be your lecture, right? Thankfully the videos were not like extremely long because I know a lot of people out there have to watch like an hour-long lectures. And then for like our quizzes and exams, it was all online. We used this like special like textbook website thing. I don't know how to explain it. So that was definitely really different than what would have happened in person. So moving on, I also took psychology. So it was my first psychology class, so I didn't really know what to expect, but we had 4 exams, so it was like a very exam heavy class, and we had 1 Zoom meeting per week, even though the class meets twice per week. So we would have a Zoom meeting on Monday for like an hour and 15 minutes, which was like pretty long, and it's really hard to like stay focused, like staring at a screen and not be distracted by your phone. We had like weekly assignments, but those were pretty easy, and we had this weekly thing called Inquisitive. I don't know if you guys use that. Okay, Inquisitive literally took me so long every single week. I hated that thing so much. It's like an interactive quiz where like if you keep doing it, like you'll eventually get 100%, if that makes any sense. And then for exams, it was obviously on Zoom as well, but since that class was like in the afternoon, I had like no problem attending class or like doing the exam, so that was fine. And then for math, we didn't use Zoom, we used YouTube Live because like that's just what he wanted and that's what he preferred. That was like definitely different because you can like type in the YouTube Live like chat box, but sometimes there's like a few second lag between like us and the professor, so he wouldn't see the question immediately, and it's not like in Zoom where you can just like unmute yourself and like holler out a question. And math was like by far the most confusing class I've ever taken. He also posted like separate short YouTube videos like for the class, I mean, you can like watch them too, like it's like available for the public, but that was super nice because there was like extra resources that we could use to help understand the material in the class. And he used Discord to communicate with us, so it was easy to just like be able to just text him rather than like emailing or whatever. But by far math was like such a struggle for me. But I think the classes that were most disappointing, or not disappointing, but like the most different were labs, because obviously like the point of a lab is to do it in person and like hands-on, but now it's just all online. So for physics, we had a Zoom once a week because you have lab once a week, and the TA would just talk on Zoom for maybe 15 to 20 minutes just to explain the lab and like if you had questions, but they would be available for like the whole like 3-hour lab period if you needed any help. So my physics TA was like incredibly helpful. I loved her so much, and physics lab wasn't super hard because they were like super specific on like what you're supposed to do, like step by step. We did have a short quiz that we needed to complete afterwards, but it was like super fast, which is like not the case for chemistry at all. Chemistry lab wasn't that bad this year. I feel like the difficulty of the course was like manageable. So we also had a weekly Zoom, but the Zoom would be like an hour and 15 minutes. But sometimes she would let us out early if we just like finished whatever we were doing. And she would go over like the lab of the week, like briefing slides. And then we had like an in-class assignment that we had to do in like breakout rooms, which I absolutely hate breakout rooms. And then before each Zoom meeting, you have to complete a pre-lab. After the Zoom meeting, you have to complete a post-lab. But for chem lab, the pre-lab before the Zoom, like that would take me probably anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours depending how long the lab was that day. So that's really frustrating because it's only a 1 credit class, and the post lab probably takes me another like hour-ish. That's basically an overview of what my classes look like throughout the semester. So like the main thing I was really annoyed with this semester is just like all the extra like asynchronous stuff that you have to do, because it just doesn't make any sense. Because if it was in person, like you wouldn't have to do any of that, and you would just go to class and then you'd be done with class. But for me, it was like I had to have 2 classes that were the equivalent of 1, if that makes sense. It took up a lot of time that I could have been doing something else with, which like I knew I was gonna be busy like no matter what, but it was like I just felt so drained by the end of every single day that I didn't want to do anything else. And like on the weekends, like I would just be doing like homework. So that gets me into like my daily routine, and it's basically the same thing like over and over again. So I woke up at 7 like every single day of the week, like for Zoom or YouTube Live. After that, I would watch my physics lectures, and then after that I would have like a psychology thing that I had to do, either a Zoom or just like watch the lecture of the day. And then like after my classes were over that day, I would just have to watch asynchronous material. So I would try to go to bed around like 10:30-ish, but I would like be in my bed and like go on TikTok for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour. You know, that's like the only time that I had to like really just relax and like lay down. Sometimes I do go out for a drive or like to go get some coffee. But yeah, like my daily routine was just super boring in my opinion, which is why I didn't film very much like day in my life or like week in my life, because like I'm not really doing anything. Like I'm just in my house. So that routine was super draining, and I'm sure a lot of you guys like have similar experiences. During like my first round of midterms, I was like so stressed. I had physics and math the same week. I was already struggling in math like incredibly, and then I never took physics in high school. I don't know why, don't ask me why. So those were the 2 classes that I really like had to grind for, because I didn't know what was going on and it was all new stuff. And I remember I was just panicking like that week. But it's definitely hard to like study by yourself, especially like when normally you would have friends to study with, and like you would go to the library or like a coffee shop and you wouldn't just like be in your room. Because even like if I was on campus, I don't really study in my dorm. Like I always go to the library. But like at home, like sure you can like call your friends, which like sometimes I did, but it's just like I'm in different time zones, so it's like hard to like coordinate time sometimes. It's definitely hard to like stay connected with your friends when you don't see them every day. I think me and my friends were still like decently connected throughout the year or throughout the semester. because we have similar classes together because we're like all in the STEM field, which is nice. And we didn't have any breaks this semester besides Thanksgiving. Usually we have this thing called pacing break, which is like a fall break basically, and it's usually after the first round of midterms, so around like middle of October. It would have been like a 4-day long weekend type of thing, and some professors let us get those days off, but some professors didn't. And you may think a long weekend is like something like super small, but it really does help with like the burnout, because without that break and like the fact that we had to work straight like 3 months until Thanksgiving, it was just like so exhausting. Like I'm sure everyone experienced the burnout. Like I was just so tired, so tired, and I just didn't have any more motivation to do anything. My grades didn't exactly like suffer, I guess. Like I still did okay, but definitely not as well as I wanted to. And I know a lot of students who like moved off campus with their friends and stuff and like got an apartment or got a house, which I'm sure that would have been like a way nicer experience compared to mine. But I don't know, who knows? Like remote learning just sucks. I think we've all established that. I've just seen so many TikToks of just people screaming, especially Spencer, if you guys know him on TikTok. I just love his daily screams. They're so funny. And I think TikTok has just, you know, been a nice way for us to like relate to other college students and know that you're not the only one struggling. TikTok has been a really big distraction as well, I will say that. I'm glad the semester's over, and winter break is like super long this year for us because we don't have spring break, which is actually going to suck because that's a whole week that we're not getting. If you guys watched my last video, you guys know that I'm packing to go to Taiwan. And you might be thinking like, why would you want to move further away in a worse time zone than the one that I'm already in now? But I feel like moving to Taiwan will be a good change for me, because I feel like I cannot keep sitting in the same room for another 4 months. Also because Taiwan is like a super safe country right now. I don't know if you guys know that, but they have had like no COVID cases for a very long time. And I also have family back there, so it's not like I'm just going back there randomly. But I really hope there will be some adjustments in the way the professors teach. Probably not. I think that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment down below your own experience with the remote learning. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.